Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about the next turbo on the list. It's going to be the G25-550 for the best turbo selection series of the Focus ST. Comes with two different AR sizes. They're going to be a .72 and a .92 AR. Here are the specs off ATP's website. That's how much they list it for right there. There's the part number for the kit. Now, in my opinion, the .92 AR is going to be the best housing AR selection for this turbo, just because the 25-550 is, even though it's a good turbo and it's probably a little bit better as far as spool goes and flow as a 2867, it's kind of a mismatch on the turbine side. So you kind of get a choking point. And a lot of people probably won't think so, but the .92 AR is definitely the way to go because this turbo spools really well. 25-550 is the best spooling turbo for the stock fuel system range. So the G series is basically a Gen 3 version of the Garrett turbos. It features an ultra high flow compressor wheel, more aerodynamic. It has a better turbine wheel design. It's a high heat grade MAR-M alloy, which is rated for 1050 Celsius. It comes with all your Dash 4 oil fittings and Dash 6 oil fittings. So compared to the GTX series where they use banjo fittings, the G series use traditional AN fittings that are installed in the turbo, so you don't have to worry about putting those on when you purchase this turbo. So the biggest thing with the G series turbos is you need an external wastegate dump setup. So instead of using the traditional internal wastegate like this right here, you're going to be using an external wastegate, so it's going to cost more. Here's some more specs on the G25-550. Compressor wheel 4860. Got a 3-inch inlet, a 70 AR compressor housing, 5449. Compressor map, you can kind of see what your range is going to be. These are really efficient, great efficiency, 80% almost here. So when it says G25-550, the 25 is your turbine frame, then you get the 550 crank horsepower rating, but that doesn't mean it's going to be 550 crank horsepower on a Focus ST. So this turbo is going to spool better than a 2867 Gen 2. It's going to spool around 2850, 2900 at 20 psi, 25 psi by around 3200. The spool range is when it starts spooling. So at around 1900, it's going to start spooling, building boost. And then this is roughly the general number for when it hits full boost. It's going to take your general stage 3 bolt-ons. Now it doesn't have to be stage 3, but you're definitely going to want an intercooler upgrade. I highly recommend the Elliott Specialized Performance intercooler up to 500 wheel horsepower. That is good for. Past that point, you can go with the CVF intercooler. That's good for 700 wheel horsepower, no problem. One thing to note is you're going to need an external wastegate dump tube kit with the manifold, which we're going to cover over there, but you're going to have to source a tile 44 millimeter wastegate or a Turbo Smart 45 wastegate, depending on which one you like, or there's even other options that you can put on there. And still bolt on stock turbo style downpipe or your intake, anything. If you've had a GTX series turbo before and you want to switch to the G series, the G series will bolt on. You can just replace it, which is nice, and I love it about this kit, is you can just mix and match all you want. The only difference is the G series is an external wastegate. Having an external wastegate maximizes the efficiency of the turbo setup, so that is a good thing. So the horsepower range for the G25-550 is going to be around the 390. It's going to be the most efficient with the .72 AR housing. Probably about 400, 410 with the .92, just because you get a little bit more of that top end flow, but you lose about 300 RPM in spool between the two ARs. The max, so if you want to push it to its limits, you're going to be running on E85 on a 4-port aux fuel kit past 400, you're going to be making 440 with a 0.72 and 460 roughly with a 0.92 AR. And like I said, I highly recommend the 0.92 because this turbo spools so well anyways. Why not just get the 0.92? Over there, you're leaving yourself more room to play with just in case you want to plan on building this engine. Then you can still have a great flowing turbo. Price range for this turbo is Jimmy Elliott at Elliott Specialized Performance sells this turbo kit for $2,300 when that's before taxes. The MSRP from ATP is $2,800. Now the general upgrades that you can do to make this turbo run even more efficient, and you probably can gain, you know, a couple more wheel horsepower with this. Obviously you got your arc enemy dump tube kit, which you still need, and it's going to be way better than the ATP manifold that they make because the wastegate sits on top, and also the fire ring for all the Garrett turbos from ATP causes head cracking. So what you want to do is run the stock 3-layer turbo gasket because it matches up to the cylinder head anyways. It doesn't matter if the manifold is round on the ATP. So if you stay with the ATP manifold, for example, you still want to run the OEM manifold and take out the fire ring gasket. There has been people running both, and it will eventually leak because what happens is the fire ring actually pushes on the flat gasket on the cylinder head, and it kind of squeezes outward by putting pressure on it. Here is a cylinder head, for example, that had a ATP GTX Gen 2 3076 on it. This head was cracked because of this, and look at this indentation. There's an indentation from this fire ring. That's what it does to your cylinder head. These cylinder heads, as it is, have a reputation for cracking. Now you add in the factor that you're going to have an ATP manifold with a fire ring crushing on here, putting all that heat. There's no heat distribution. That's why I need the Ford 3-layer OEM gasket. So Clayton, I don't think he's going to be selling them anymore, but Arc Enemy started making these G-series downpipes. So what it does, it gets rid of this restriction right here. That's an adapter for running the stock style location downpipe. So even though you got a 3-inch downpipe, this here is restricting your big turbo exhaust flow. I mean, look at this. So that's the stock end for the downpipe, and this is the turbine side on the turbo. But look at that. That's not even maybe 2 inches total. So the new G-series downpipe eliminates this here, and it runs direct right to the turbo. Allows you to maximize the efficiency, have less back pressure on the cylinder head, less heat for more longevity. Allows the turbo to run more efficiently. So these numbers could probably go up a little bit more, probably about 15 more wheel horsepower if you ran the G-series downpipe. But for example, if you ran the G-series downpipe, by allowing that less restriction, you're going to make the same amount of horsepower with a little bit less boost. So hopefully everyone's been enjoying the series so far of the best turbo selection for the Focus ST. Give the video a like and subscribe. We're getting close to 1,000 subscribers, and I'm going to be doing some giveaways. It looks like people are voting for the custom purge line that I make, which is right here. This thing does not put out any engine codes. So, high flow fuel filter. It connects to the intake manifold Composer delete plate. Cost to make this is around 250 bucks. So if you guys want to know how to make this, I can also make a video, kind of a long video explaining what parts you need to make this, and you can make it yourself. But if you've enjoyed this series so far, make sure to go check out these videos in these series that I'm going to be posting up at the end. See you on the next one.